So, welcome and good evening. Thank you all for joining us for this first of many webinar in partnership with Rugby League Cares and Mattioli Woods on money management and taking control. I'm standing in this evening for Steve Hardesty. Steve sadly couldn't make it, he had another commitment. My name is Francis Stevenson. I'm the transition manager at Rugby League Cares. And one thing that comes up quite often with the players I work with is financial planning and management and preparation for life after rugby from a financial perspective. So I think it's great. We've got a webinar this evening. Mark Redmond's going to lead it for us, who's part of the education team at Mattioli Woods. But I think it's great that we've got a webinar on money management and taking control for rookies and young players who are setting off on the first steps of their career. If we can get some good financial habits in place early, I know it will stand you in good stead, not only for your rugby careers, but for your life right on until you get to retirement. So, Adrian Firth will also be joining us shortly, who's also part of the Mattioli Woods team. Rugby League Cares and Mattioli Woods have a long partnership. And one of the beauties of working with Mattioli Woods as a wealth management partner is they're not trying to sell us anything, they're not trying to sell you anything. They've just got a genuine interest in giving back to the sport, and all their information is freely given without an agenda, which for us is fantastic. It means you're getting bona fide, 100% good advice. Mark, over to you.
Francis, thanks ever so much indeed. Welcome. Thanks everybody for giving up your evening, or at least, I'm guessing it's going to be at least 28 minutes of it or something like that. This is the first of 4 planned webinars that we're going to be doing over the course of the season, alongside, of course, Rugby League Cares, which is an organisation that we really, really enjoy working with. Now, this webinar and the 3 that follow later, they're designed to help with your financial well-being. Now, well-being is a word that I think sometimes is a bit overused, but a way of looking at our overall well-being is to look at 3 key elements of well-being as we see it, and that's the mental, the physical, and the financial. Now, okay, I can't help you with the physical, but you're in a career that is going to cater for that anyway. But what I would say on the finances, if you get sidetracked by your finances, all of us, however good we are, we're going to find it harder to keep ourselves mentally and physically fit. It's a big distraction if the financial side isn't going well. So having good financial skills benefits all of us in whatever career that we follow. There'll be some of you this evening who think, listen, financially, I'm absolutely fine. And that's great. Even if your finances are going well, there's always a few extra jobs you can do just to make that little bit of difference to make yourselves that bit more financially comfortable. Now, we're talking finance. So before I go on, there's a couple of legal bits that I do have to mention. The first is that the information in the webinar is correct at the time of recording. So yes, there is a recording which you will be able to watch back. We send these through to Steve and he makes sure that they're put on the website or made available to you at the clubs, whichever. So the information is correct at the time of recording and it relates to the 2023-24 tax year. Quick word on that. Our new tax year starts on the 6th of April. And on the 6th of March, gosh, I'm throwing dates here. 6th of March, there's a budget. So inevitably, if there are changes to anything that happens, we update you as we go through the rest of the webinars. The other thing, just to make it clear, this evening is not about providing you financial advice. If you want financial advice, you'll probably need to sit down and chat with somebody. Normally, I don't know, you'll sit down and probably have a couple of meetings at the least. One where they are trying to understand you, your circumstances and what it is you're trying to achieve. And then the second bit is obviously where they come back and provide advice. This isn't it. This webinar is just looking at the topic of managing your money, being on top of things, taking control, making sure you've got the knowledge and the understanding to support any financial decisions that you make. Now, I would say as well that the content today is fairly high level. The next 3 webinars will drill into far more detail. So I'm planning to take about another 17, 18 minutes with you where we're going to look and see, well, what should you be looking at to make managing your money that little bit easier? Okay. Now, you'll see on the screen, there is to the right of the screen, there is a tab that says Q&A. Now, he's not there yet, but in the background, there will appear my colleague Adrian, who is going to scroll through the questions that have been sent. Don't worry, nobody else can see the question that you're posing. Only he will be able to see them, and he will come back to you individually. Now, if you don't get the answer during the webinar live, we will have your email address because you use that to register, and we will come back to you individually, and it is entirely confidential. So please feel free to ask any questions you want, probably of a financial nature, and we will get back to you. Okay, if it happens to be after the webinar, don't worry, you'll see a reply. It'll be coming either from Adrian Firth or myself, Mark Redmond. So I just want to set the scene before we get into one or two things that all of us should be looking at. And I guess over the last few years, we have coped with an awful lot of change. So we had COVID, or the pandemic as people seem to refer it to, and we seem to have got through that. Certainly the masks have disappeared, and jabs don't seem as frequent and all that sort of stuff. Listen, there's still a war going on in Eastern Europe. So you've got Russia v Ukraine, and for v Ukraine, there's a lot of support being given by other countries to Ukraine. That has had a pretty severe impact on the cost of certain items. Energy was a big one. We're going to touch on that briefly. And now, of course, we've got problems with the Middle East, which means ships are trying to avoid the Red Sea completely, which means it adds another 10 days to their journey to bring goods into Europe. Inevitably, there's going to be an increase in cost coming through on those as well. Sorry, I'm pouring cold water on your evening here, but hey, brace yourselves for it. We all have to adjust to the cost of living. It's something that we all have to do. And I've just, on this slide, I've put 3 examples of what's currently happening, or as close to it as I can, because some of the figures don't get published until the end of the following month. So if you can see there on the right hand side, we've got inflation 2023. Now this is the year ending December. So the food catering prices, this is all data that comes from the in this case the Office for National Statistics. They were telling us that the rate of inflation for food 8%. Now I don't know how much shopping you do and stuff like this, but yeah, certainly food prices have gone up. The overall consumer price index was running at 4%. So, some items are going to go up faster than inflation, as the government tell us, and other items, well, they don't go up quite as much because fuel, and you'll see there the December price for unleaded, 141.8. I can tell you that just down the road from me, which is just the top end of Leeds where I live, it's 133.9 when I drove past there this evening. So in some ways, fuel's come down in prices. It's come down in price, and that's something to do with demand for fuel. And then, every time we switch on the lights or we put on the heating, we've got to pay for energy. You'll see that the current rate, and this is very much in the small print at the bottom right-hand side there, you'll see that the sort of government approved rate for an average family, and what's average? Well, apparently it's a household of 2.3 items. Hold on, you just seen Adrian appear.
Sorry.
Wave it. It's all right. I hope the car's alive and well.
Please ask any questions in the Q&A section on the right-hand side, and I will go and answer all of those questions. Sorry, I'll leave you in peace, Mark. Sorry.
I can tell you, he's had a lot of pressure this evening just getting here. But anyway, so yeah, I was talking about energy, and it says there 1,928 quid is the annual rate for the average household of something like 2.4 people. It's crazy. Listen, you leave the lights on all day and leave the heating on all day, you'll be paying a lot more than that. If you're careful, you might get in a little bit under that. The forecast from people who analyze this, and a number of people seem to be supporting them, is that energy prices, that's for gas and electric, that rate of £1,928 is going to drop for the period between April to June. But let's wait and see. What it tells me is we've got to adapt to changing costs all the time. So if something goes up dramatically, we've got to look at everything else that we're spending money on to say, okay, where can we make a saving? What can we cut out to make sure that we're staying within our budget? And this is where it starts getting interesting, because I'm going to just bring up, or I hope I am bringing up on this, or you should get a message on your screen that's asking you to please click on a button that says either yes or no to this question, which is, do you currently have a budget? In other words, do you manage your finances? Now, be honest here. Yeah, it's yes or no. Click a button. I am frantically padding at the moment because the answers seem to take a little bit of time to come through. And right now, based on the number that were in the waiting room, I'm thinking that there's a few more of you. Be honest. It doesn't matter whether you say yes or no on this, but just tell me an honest answer. And right now, I would say the no's are winning it slightly. Okay. Some of you do manage your budget. Hold on, we're getting very even now. Very even indeed. Listen, I'm going to close that one down now. I would say we're at 50-50. And if you do manage your budget, congratulations. And you're probably thinking, well, I'm not learning a lot here. That's fine. But bear with me and believe me, sign up for the other 3 webinars because there's more detail. Now, those of you who don't manage your budget, listen, it's worth it. It's just worth it to know what's coming in, and that's easy, it's on your payslip, but very much what's going out and where the heck is it going. Now, this is just an example. Ignore the numbers, because the only numbers that matter on any sort of budget plan are yours. Yeah, the rest are totally irrelevant. And I've only, on this example, put the real headline stuff. So salary coming in, well, you'll know what that is. But then you also know that you're paying tax, you're paying national insurance. Listen, a quick word on national insurance. It came down from a rate of 12% to 10% on the 6th of January. You'll only feel the full effect of it in February, because January was a funny month because the reduction didn't apply until the 6th. So there was a bit of full rate and partial rate. February is the pay month that you'll see the real difference on that. You'll also see their pension contribution. And I appreciate that I'm talking to you at the back end of my working life, and you're at the very much the early part of your working life. Listen, take it from me. The money that you put into a pension or any sort of savings at the beginning of your career is the money that will make the difference, because that money, particularly in a pension, will have at least 30 years of work ahead of it. It's sitting there being managed, invested, providing you a return. That's the money that makes a difference, because the money I put into my pension now has probably got 2 or 3 years to work. It hasn't really got a chance when I think of that, of the money that you're putting in versus mine. You're going to win hands down. So don't ignore it and don't give up the opportunity. The other items, well, you may have a mortgage, you may have rent, whatever it is, you've got to know what that is. That's an easy one. Utility bills and groceries. Now, we've just looked at some utilities. There's other ones as well. I would say broadband these days is a utility. Travel, I expect 1 or 2 of you have got either the first or second vehicle of your career, and you think, gosh, you know, I could do with something better. Well, think carefully about it. And then, of course, there's socializing, there's going out and enjoying yourself. Know what you're spending it on. Now in this example, I've just showed it on a, well, I put a little spreadsheet together and just cut and paste it into this. Some of you will be using bank accounts that do this for you. One of my boys opened a Monzo account recently, and the Monzo account is fantastic because it actually classifies all your spending. It also gives you the opportunity to set a budget for the month and warn you if you're going to go over the budget that you've set. So there's loads of little tools out there that are free for you to use to keep on top of stuff like this. You'll benefit from it, even if it is just to say, oh, Struth, I need to cut things back, or I need to be careful of what I'm doing this month. It all helps keeping on top of things. What happens if your finances are, I don't know, under strain, or you're struggling? If you think you're not going to be able to make a payment, pick up the phone or get the keyboard open and let somebody know. It's far better giving the bad news before you miss a payment than them finding out that you've missed it and you've not been in touch. Believe me, it makes a huge difference to something called your credit score, which is something that we're going to be looking at in a following webinar. But that credit score, believe me, opens the door to some great financial offers. So don't let it hurt you. You've got your budget. And many of you are thinking, well, this is it. I'm totally in control. I'm going to throw something else at you now, which is called, well, you can see what it's called, financial goals. Listen, you can call them whatever you want. You can call them plans, hopes, aspirations, whatever it is. But if you set yourself a plan, and you know this because you're doing it in your career, well, do it for yourself financially as well. And it will make such a difference in terms of your success rate. Now, short term could be anywhere between, well, next week and I don't know, 2-3 years from now. And this is money that typically sits in a cash savings account. Okay, so yeah, saving for a deposit on your first home. And if you're doing that, there are some amazing products out there where you can get support, or if you like, a bonus from the government, more to come. But if I say the words lifetime and ISA, maybe you want to look it up and see whether or not you've taken advantage of that. Holiday, definitely a bit of short-term stuff there. And yeah, transport's got to be in there, buying the car or replacing it, what have you. Medium-term stuff, 3 years plus, maybe. I mean, the timeline's up to you, but it could be either buying a home for the first time, it could be moving home. One or two of you will look at buying a home to rent out. I appreciate that. But you've got to save for a deposit. You've got to know that you can manage the outgoings to finance it. And you've got to think about, if you're renting it out, getting the right tenants in. And for some of you, it'll be, wow, you start a family, at which point your budget will be taking a severe hammering. Right. Longer term. Now, for yourselves where you are right now, it might be thinking about, okay, what will my career be after I've had my first career in the sport? 3+ holidays a year, you might be managing that now, but some of those holidays could be longer in later life. I am looking forward one day to be able to walk down the street, look in the window, and you'd see sometimes travel agents say, booking on Saturday night, and you can get yourself to, I don't know, somewhere outside in Spain for 300 quid for a week. Fantastic. Those are the ones that I'm thinking of. So in my case, pretty short term, I guess. And then, hey, some of you will be thinking, right, what opportunities are out there? And when I say out there, outside of the country. What you do know is that if you set these goals, you'll go back to your budget and say, right, what money have I got available to achieve these? Okay, and it all does inevitably come back to managing your money. Because if you manage your money, you'll achieve your goals. When it comes to saving money, these questions, listen, I'm not going to take the credit for these. Adrian gave me these. I think he got them from somebody else called Martin Lewis, but he'll put us right at the end, no doubt. Ask yourself, whenever you're going to buy something, do I need it? I have a constant battle at home with various people in our household. They want a lot, but they don't necessarily need a lot. And once you can get that straight in your head and you can kind of follow it, managing the budget just gets a little bit more easier than it was before. Listen, if you need something, next question, can you afford it? Because if you can't, you might then have to take up some form of credit arrangement to get it. Or you could save for it. Now, if you want the best outcome, you're going to save for it. And then you only get the things that you can afford. But sometimes credit is one of those necessities. Listen, let's face it, all of us will have a mortgage at some point of our life. And then finally, the third question, can I get it cheaper? Listen, all of us walk around with something in our pocket that has got more computing power than the original space shuttle. I couldn't believe that, but I checked it, and apparently these phones work faster than the computer system on a space shuttle. Who knew? Well, you do now. Research. Make sure that you're paying the right price for whatever it is, be it goods or services. And when we look at goods and services that we're buying, insurances, right? Okay, all of us, particularly if we're driving a car on the road, it's a legal requirement that we have some insurance. So let's make sure we do. And of course, because of your careers, you need to be very careful that you put down the right thing when you are obtaining car insurance. Remember, you've got another partner, trusted partner of Rugby League Cares. You've got All Sport in the background. So always, when in doubt, talk to them. They're the experts. Home insurance. If you're renting, the landlord is going to sort that out. But think about contents insurance and do shop around very carefully. And then finally, holiday, or let's call it what it is, travel insurance. Okay, I think this evening my 20-year-old will have disappeared downstairs to eat. But last year in Tenerife, he managed to get second-degree burns on his feet. The cost of that was £3,500 for a one-night stay in hospital. My sister lives in Manhattan. She broke her arm last year. Okay, sounds like my whole family is accident prone. It felt like it at the time. If you're traveling to the States and you break your arm and you haven't got insurance, you'll personally have to cough up $25,000 to get it fixed. Okay, never forget your travel insurance. Banking. I mentioned a bank earlier, Monzo. Clear, there's hundreds of banks out there, or dozens of banks out there. Do look around carefully and definitely make sure that your money that you've got in the bank is earning some form of interest. Just to put it in perspective, in February of 2022, i.e. 2 years ago, the National Savings and Investment people, it's almost like the government bank, they were paying a rate of interest of 0.5%. Today, 2 years later, they're paying a rate of interest, just on their standard account, 3.65%. Yeah, interest is returned in a big way. So make sure you're getting some of it, because if you're not getting interest, they're making your money work for them and not for you. Also bear in mind, yeah, I appreciate there are deals on bank accounts that you can have within the sport, but lots of banks want your business. And indeed, many will offer you a cash incentive to open up a current account. Now, I've been on site with several clubs and spoken to younger players who have picked up £125, £150, £175 for opening a current account. Talk to your fellow colleagues and find out, okay, who's been doing that and how do I do it? It is very easy. You just check online. And then finally, on the services side, mobile phones. Just be careful when they offer you that in-deal upgrade. They're never a great deal. Yeah, shop around very carefully on all mobile phones and services. Broadband, yeah, we all need it at home, but do we really need to be spending 40 quid a month when maybe for a slightly slower speed, yeah, you could be paying 25. And remember, when I'm talking about saving here, I'm not talking about saving thousands of pounds on one particular deal. Believe me, it's 5 here, it's 10 there, it's 25. It's a cashback deal if you open up a new broadband account. It's those small sums that accumulate over the course of a year. And I personally have set myself a target this year to save £1,000 on whatever it is that I'm spending. Okay, it's been a slow start, but we'll get there. The final point I wanted to make about streaming is this. It's expensive. And do you really get value for money from it? I pay for Netflix. One of my lads pays for Now and Apple. My wife is paying for Amazon Prime. And I'm thinking, do we actually need all of this? Because I was speaking to a lady last week, £130 a month on streaming. Really? I don't think you can get value for money out of it, because you'd need to be awake 24 hours a day to be watching whatever it is that you're trying to get. So think about it before you go down that road. Now, I'm talking a lot tonight, but actually there's a lot of organizations out there that provides so much information to help all of us manage our money that little bit better. So on the budgeting and money management front, Money Helper was set up by the government. I would say it's incredibly accurate, helpful. It's a little bit formal. Money Saving Expert is Martin Lewis's website. So you're going to see an awful lot of Martin, whether you like him or not. It seems quite relevant to all of us. It's written in such a way. You can also sign up for his newsletter that will give you all sorts of savings tips, including sometimes, according to Adrian, you get free Nando's. I've never seen it, but he swears by it. Money Facts is a free newsletter that will tell you once a week at no cost. They've got nothing to sell. They don't phone you. It'll tell you who's offering the best interest rates on savings, who's offering the best mortgage rates. Comparison sites. Listen, I've only got 3 examples there. There are more than that, and I know that. But if you're going to use a comparison site for, let's say, your car insurance, don't use 1, use 2. The reason is all of them do special deals with particular insurers. And you might be on Money Supermarket and they've got a cracking deal with one insurer, but the others aren't so good. Well, it could be one of those other ones that, I don't know, Go Compare has got an even better deal available to you. And of course, don't forget, some insurers, particularly on the motor front, they keep telling you they're not on comparison sites. So yeah, look around carefully. Finally, okay, I'm not saying you've got debt. I'm not saying you've got money worries, but you might know somebody who does. Free debt advice is available from all of those 4 organizations there. I was watching a program the other night on telly, and a debt advice company was running an advert saying, you know, it's that time of year when people have just got past Christmas and they've been struggling. And if you've got £6,000 or more debt, we can help you. They're going to charge each individual that sets up a debt arrangement with them a starting fee of £500. These 4 organizations will do it exactly the same service at 0 cost. Which one would you use? Okay. I want to leave you with, okay, it's a little piece about well-being that I think it really does pull everything together for me. When we're talking Leonardo here, we are talking about Leonardo da Vinci. If you've never heard of him or you've not read anything about him, bright guy, really bright guy. And he said, this is hundreds of years ago, everything is connected to everything else. Well, to us, it feels like a statement of the obvious, but at the time, it was fairly radical. I'm suspecting quite a lot of you are doing quite a bit of the healthy eating, the exercise, and everything else because your career depends on some of that. But the better you feel physically, well, I can tell you, mentally, you're feeling slightly better too. You certainly feel more capable and able to tackle things. And that's when financially you're going to benefit from all the good work that you're doing, because financially now you'll be on top of things. You'll feel motivated. I don't know, you're more likely to eat well if you're not worried about other things. You're going to therefore do better in the sport. There's all sorts of things that will help us do well overall. But just remembering that doing our very best at everything, giving it 100%, and that includes your finances, can only pay dividends for you in the future. Now, okay, I think you've heard enough of my voice, and I'm very fortunate, or we're all very fortunate, that Adrian got back and has hopefully been wading through one or two questions. I've no idea, Aid, but there's a red button there, so I'm guessing somebody's had a word with you.
Yeah, and I've magically had a chance to change into a corporate T-shirt as well. So, yeah, can I just only sincerely apologise, everybody? And when you are actually thinking about cars early on in your career, bear this in mind. This is my wife's first brand new car that we've picked up tonight, and we're 51 and 49. So other than that, we've been driving bangers and old secondhand cars and stuff. So don't go out there wasting money on cars until later in life when you can afford them. Listen, there have been a few comments. I'm not going to throw you under the bus, Mark. I wanted to comment on one thing, and then I've got a question for you. Somebody mentioned that if they open a pension scheme with the current club and then they play for another club and they open another pension scheme, or another club and they open another pension scheme, will they not end up with just loads of pensions? And the answer is yes, you will.
Yeah.
But don't worry about that now. The main point is that to be in pensions and let that money grow over the next 20, 30, 40 years, so it's got lots of time to accumulate. Now, later on, as you transition out from rugby into another career, then we can look at all the multiple different pots and consolidate them into one. But right now, the main point is to join the scheme because of the tax relief that you enjoy and your employer's contribution, which is going in as well, which adds on to your contribution. If you don't join, you won't get that extra contribution added on. So that's just a very quick one on the multiple pension pots thing.
Thanks.
Secondly, a quick question for you, Mark. I've got a budget. This person said they've got a budget planner with their bank account. Shouldn't everybody have a budget planner with their bank account?
I would argue, yeah, I would agree with you on that, because I think some banks are just taking it easy and not bothering to add these things. I think we all deserve a great service from whoever we deal with. I occasionally go and watch various sports, and what I'm looking for is somebody who gives it 100% on the day. I would rather they win, but if they lose, but they've given it 100%, I can live with that. And it disappoints me when banks aren't bolting onto the services they provide, things that help us manage things financially. So you'll find most of the challenger banks, that's the Monzos, the Revolut, the Starlings, they've built it all in. I would equally say that a lot of the big banks, the more established ones, are slowly catching up. And one or two building societies could really do with upping their game. But yeah, make sure if they haven't got you a budget planner, make sure you do it yourself. I know Adrian happens to use a spreadsheet, and I used to use a budget planning service. There used to be a lot of them, but they're all sort of backing out of that market now. None of them have managed to make it work for whatever. So just take control yourself. And back to those three questions. The big one to me is, do you need whatever it is that you're looking at? And it might sound a bit boring, but do you know what? The money's working harder when you've got control of it than when you've handed it over for something that you might not use that often.
Yeah, I'm conscious of the famous businesswoman Sophia Amoruso, who created Boohoo, and she said money looks better in the bank than it does on your feet. So there you go.
And she was
in the
selling them.
Industry, yeah, absolutely. Other than that, there were no other questions that came up. So, and again, can I just sincerely apologise for being a little bit late? It's been a bit of a rush of a day. So, thank you, Mark.
No pressure on you, mate. Thank you very much indeed, and welcome back, Francis. And hopefully that was enjoyable for you. I hope it was enjoyable for the rest of you. Please keep an eye out for the next date, the next time. We'll be going into more detail, and believe it, all of you, we hope that over the course of 4 webinars, you'll be far more on top of your finances, and hopefully it will make you a little bit of money. That's the plan.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Adrian. A really great webinar there. Lots and lots of little nuggets of advice, and some of which is just good common financial sense. But on occasions, I think we know what to do, but we don't do what we know. And I think the sessions such as this remind us just to take a proactive, positive steps about our finances and get control of our finances. And probably the final message from me is to reinforce what Mark said a few moments ago. If you do get on top of your finances and you feel confident and you've taken proactive, preventative, positive steps about your financial planning and budgeting, and all the things we've discussed this evening, that is an enabler to help you play better. There's one less distraction in your life, one other thing that you know you can put to bed because you're in control of that and it's taken care of. That allows you then to be a better athlete. And I know as rookies and young players, really, all you want to do is play rugby league and be the best rugby league player you can be. Just like going to the gym, just like eating well, just like seeing a physio or asking for advice from coaches, taking care of this area of your life is an enabler to peak athletic performance. So it's another thing to look at on an ongoing basis to make you a better player. Thank you all for your time. Thanks, Adrian and Mark. I look forward to seeing you all on the next webinar with Mattioli Woods and Rugby League Cares. Good evening.
Francis, thank you very so much indeed. One or two of you will have noticed my email address is at the bottom of that slide. Ask any questions that you've got. If you wake up tomorrow morning and think, what the heck did he say? Just drop me a note. And to all of you, I wish you every success in your career. Just take care of yourselves, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.